Lord forgive me for this trap shit. Sergeant Smack making backflip. Telly Hank did with the action. With the vital speaking Spanish. Frank Matthews, how I vanish. Poof. Came back like I'm King Tut. Gold BBS is on a beamer. When Fat Cat was 10 queens up. Fall off the profit, not the re-up. Fly like Puerto Rican Jesus. Uptown like I'm Baby May. Just caught a touchdown from the Bay.
Yo, there's a shooting right here on Hoover in Manchester?
So we're at 8514 South Hoover Street.
It was at the Sinclair gas station on the corner of Manchester and Hoover. December 3rd, 2023, just after 11 at night.
We observe a white and black, looks like a Jeep Compass. It comes southbound on Hoover, approaching Manchester, enters the Sinclair gas station, comes around to the gas station, parks right in front of the gas station.
And then it happens.
In 1992, Warner Brothers would release South Central, a crime drama that would delve into the harsh realities of gang life in South Los Angeles. Produced by Oliver Stone, the film was adapted from Donald Baker's novel, the original South Central LA Crips. With a modest budget of $4 million, South Central would seek to shed light on the cynical nature of violence within the inner city communities. Oliver Stone, a Hollywood heavyweight behind iconic films like Scarface, Wall Street, and Natural Born Killers, brought his reputation for tackling bold, controversial subjects to this project. His involvement would not only give the film credibility, it would ensure its narrative will reflect the gritty truths of South Central Los Angeles.
Okay, our next film is South Central, a companion piece to The Boys in the Hood, exploring one aspect of that wonderful film, the challenge to black fathers to take responsibility for their children. The father in South Central is a character named Bobby, played by Glenn Plummer, who gets out of prison to learn that he's fathered a son.
I had the baby by myself, Bobby, by myself. And it hurt me.
But bigger than his loyalty to his son is Bobby's fidelity to a gang called the Deuces, in which he's a big wheel along with his buddy Ray Ray, played by Byron Keith Mins.
You don't control the day. The man controls the day. But we will control the night.
Bobby is sent back to prison for committing a gang murder, and in the slammer he meets a character called Ali, played by Carl Lumbly, who is into self-determination, and he lectures Bobby about cleaning up his act.
Are you a deuce? No, I am not. Can you stand alone like a man has to? Yes. Go find your boy. Save his life. I'll do it. If it takes my life, I'll do it.
Out of jail, Bobby finds to his horror that his now 10-year-old son is following in his father's self-destructive footsteps.
Jimmy, listen. If you don't go back there now, you'll be running from the law for the rest of your life. Look, I won't let you make the same mistakes I made.
South Central is strange. It's kind of amateurish, setting up its gang story and the prison life, and it's very amateurish in its portrayal of all the white characters. But it turns out to be quite powerful in its concluding act when Bobby tries to save his son. I just wish that that section of South Central, the last third of the picture, I suppose, had been expanded more and made much more complex. I would have enjoyed it a lot more if the story had begun in the middle, as the way it now plays, with Bobby being transformed in prison and then the long battle to save his son, a longer battle. As it now plays, a mixed review for me on South Central.
I give a thumbs up, and I didn't really object to the parts that you object to, because I think it's important here to see this character in his entire lifespan, from the way he's a kid who gets involved in the gangs when he's really too young to know any better, to the point where his son is standing in exactly the same pair of shoes. That's important. And also the prison stuff, I liked it. I like, for example, the confrontation between the white nation of Aryan people, whatever they are, and the black Muslims, when they deal in terms of the reality of the prison. And in that scene where they they realize on both sides that there are certain rules to play by in prison, and the black guys negotiate for their brother and then get him over to one side and try to re-educate him. That's interesting.
But first of all, we've seen better prison world pictures than this. This seemed to really, I think that the setup of the gang, I don't know, I guess I want to jump ahead, and maybe because of the stakes of the picture, it's set in Boys in the Hood, I'm trying to think of. That seemed to raise the stakes for this material. We know that the gangs are destructive, so why not jump the story ahead? I mean, I was very touched by the end of the picture, but boy, I had to wade through a lot of stuff.
Boys in the Hood is in a category by itself, Gene, and that movie is up here, and a lot of other movies are not going to be that good, but this movie on its own terms, I think, is very effective.
I think it's cartoonish until the final third of the picture. Okay.
Out of all the gangs and subsets in Los Angeles, why did Warner Brothers and the filmmakers choose to base the fictional Hoover Street Deuces on the real-life Hoovers? By the early 1990s, the Hoovers were already one of the most feared and dominant gangs in the city. Their violent history, expansive territory, and ruthless reputation made them a natural focal point for the story about the struggles of gang life. But the film would only scratch the surface of the Hoovers' legacy, a story darker and deeper and more complex than anything Hollywood could ever portray. And while the movie South Central captures a glimpse of some of the challenges that are faced in the streets, the true history of the Hoovers goes way deeper, from their rise in the 1960s to present-day infamy. The Hoovers will leave a legacy defined by violence, power, and unrelenting isolation in Los Angeles. And to understand their impact, you got to understand the beginning. Allegedly, the Hoovers would come up in the 1960s as a group known as the Hoover Groovers, a small group protecting their neighborhood around Hoover Street in South Los Angeles. At the time, they were said to be unaffiliated with larger networks and operated as a localized group. But according to some accounts, by the 1970s, they would align with the West Coast Crips, adopting the name the Hoover Crips. This move forward would begin the rise of power of one of the most dominant sets in the city. They wouldn't just stick to Hoover Street. They would build a network of subsets like the 43 Hoovers, the 52 Hoovers, the 74 Hoovers, and the 107 Hoovers, with each group holding down different zones in South Central. With the sets working together, the Hoovers would expand their influence far beyond their starting point on Hoover Street, controlling blocks along streets like Manchester and Vermont. And by the 1980s, during the crack epidemic, they were a major player in the drug game, using their numbers and territory to dominate. But it was in the 1990s they made the move that would change everything, when they would break away from the Crips and rebrand themselves as the Hoover Criminals, declaring that they didn't need any allies. This decision would isolate them from every gang in the city, Bloods, Crips, and even Latino groups, which would almost instantly make the group a target from every direction.
Ask me, what gang affiliation done the most gangsters historical shit in Los Angeles? I'm gonna tell you the Hoovers.
Oh, hands down.
Them niggas took a blue rag, put it down, said RC don't mean Crip, it mean criminal. Our rag is orange, and now we ain't siding with the Bloods. We everybody killing. We CK, we Crip killing and blood killing. And survived it. Got stronger and deeper. Can't nobody take that from them niggas. Nobody.
So Crip,
what was real is real. What's real is real. Ain't no other set out here ever did that. You know what I'm saying?
But
and survived it.
This decision would solidify their reputation as not only one of the most feared gangs, but as the most documented, hated gang in Los Angeles. Their willingness to wage war on anyone, from rivals to former allies, ensured their infamy in the city's violent history. It's believed that the Hoovers' decision to stand on their own would earn them more enemies than any gang in the city. They weren't just feared, they were hated. And that hatred would become also clear in 2009 when a 13-year-old by the name of Daquan Allen, an alleged associate of the 94 Hoovers, was killed. Daquan, known as 4-Star by the 94 Hoovers, was born and raised in Hoover territory, just west of Broadway, but life for Allen was far from stable. His father was absent, and by the age of 9, his mother was sent to prison, leaving him in the care of his grandmother. And despite her efforts to keep him away from gang life, it's said that Allen would seek brotherhood within the 94 Hoovers, a subset of the larger gang named after West 94th Street. And on August 16, 2009, Allen and a friend walked to a local swap meet to buy balloons. And as they headed home, they would pass through a contested area on Broadway, a border zone separating Hoover territory and the territory of the Main Street Mafia Crips. Allegedly, a feud had escalated between the two gangs over the summer that would lead to multiple shootings, and young Daquan Allen would become another casualty of that growing conflict. Witnesses would say a guy by the name of Christopher Thomas, an alleged Main Street Crip, would confront Allen, asking him the million-dollar question, "Where you from?" And Allen's response, 94 Hoover, was all it took. Moments later, Christopher Thomas would shoot Daquan Allen 2 times with a semi-automatic pistol in broad daylight in front of a hair salon and a cell phone shop. His grandmother was said to hear the shots from her living room just blocks away. Allen's death would shock the community, but it was far from an isolated incident. Violence in or around Hoover territory has long been a reality, and violence surrounding the Hoovers in general didn't begin or end with Daquan Allen. In 2015, the Hoovers would gain national attention during the infamous 100 Days, 100 Night Challenge, a sinister period in LA's history when rival gangs would allegedly bet on who could kill 100 people, gang members or innocent bystanders, within 100 days. The challenge was reportedly initiated after the murder of a guy by the name of KP, or Kenneth Peavy, an alleged member of the Rolling 100 Crips. The killing was said to escalate an already volatile rivalry between the Rolling Crip sets and the Hoovers, turning the city of Los Angeles into a war zone. Social media posts hashtagged 100 Days and 100 Nights would glorify the violence, with gang members issuing threats and rivals retaliating in a deadly cycle. Hoover-controlled streets, including the major roads like Hoover Street and Manchester Boulevard, will become hunting grounds for revenge and chaos. And for those living in Los Angeles, I'm sure they're reminded every day that survival hinges on being at the right place or avoiding the wrong one. Hoover territory stretches from Vernon Avenue down past Century Boulevard and into the hundreds, according to the Los Angeles Times. This area would include streets like Hoover, Manchester, and the surrounding neighborhoods, making it one of the largest and most dangerous territories in Los Angeles. The Hoovers dominate the streets, patrolling them constantly, on guard for rivals, unfamiliar faces, and probably anybody or any face that they view as a threat. For the Hoovers, this territory is both a safe haven and a battleground, with rivals creeping through, hunting for Hoover members, and retaliating for past conflicts. Meanwhile, not even innocent bystanders are spared.
So we're at 8514 South Hoover Street.
It was at the Sinclair gas station on the corner of Manchester and Hoover. December 3rd, 2023, just after 11 at night. Marquel Scott had been Christmas shopping for his kids when he stopped to fill up before his drive back to Victorville.
We observe a white and black, looks like a Jeep Compass. It comes southbound on Hoover, approaching Manchester, enters the Sinclair gas station, comes around to the gas station, parks right in front of the gas station.
And then it happens. Multiple angles of this one. The first shooter gets out, goes right for Marquette's car, and shoots several rounds. A second shooter heads towards the convenience store, fires multiple rounds. You can see customers inside scatter for cover. One person would be hit but survive. Outside, Marquel would not.
Yeah, there's a shooting right here on Hoover in Manchester.
Them 4 babies was his pride and joy.
Marquette's mom, Melanie, says her son loved being a dad. That's why he went out of his way to find a special edition Spider-Man PS5 for his son for Christmas. Crime scene photos show it in the backseat of his car after his murder.
They talk about their dad all the time. He took them everywhere.
Melanie puts on a strong face, knowing that if police can find the shooters in her son's killing, she'll get a moment to speak to them during their sentencing.
I just want to know, why did you pick that car? You just walked up to a family man's car and gunned him down with car seats in the back. And he usually would have those kids with him, so he didn't take them kids that day with him to get that PlayStation. Yes, so I'm like, I don't even know, like, when I looked at them car seats with bullet holes in the back, it was just like, oh my God.
Multiple people that you're looking for.
Yes, absolutely.
And every one of them will be charged with murder.
Every one of them, absolutely. I mean, they're all involved. It appears that they probably formed a plan. To shoot somebody or, take somebody else's life away, and there are multiple people involved.
There's a $50,000 reward being offered for information that leads to an arrest and conviction. Detectives say the main shooter could be male or female. They're not sure. Close to 300 pounds, and with a distinct car like this two-tone Jeep, they hope someone will recognize the crew.
It shocked me because I was like, how did he get killed? I wouldn't have never thought just to stop there and get no gas, that he would be killed in a matter of seconds.
And while the family waits for justice, an old sound remains close to their heart, a Build-A-Bear made for Marquette's mom.
I love you, I miss you.
In South LA, John Kathy's Klimak, NBC4 News.
The murder of 33-year-old Marquel Scott in 2023 illustrates the grim reality. Scott, a father, had been out shopping for a PlayStation 5 for his son when he had stopped to refuel at a gas station near Manchester and Hoover. It was just before midnight when he was gunned down. His only mistake was being at the wrong place at the wrong time, an all too common occurrence in this deadly landscape. The Hoovers' decision to break away from the Crips back in the 1990s left them isolated and surrounded by enemies. They are not aligned with the Bloods, the Crips, or any of the Spanish gangs. Their vast territory and sheer numbers offer some protection, but their neighborhoods are magnets for violence. Rivals see Hoover territory as a battleground to settle scores, and even residents and bystanders often find themselves caught in a crossfire. From the murder of Daquan Allen back in 2009 to the chaos of the 100 Days, 100 Nights, and the tragic death of Marquel Scott, the Hoovers' legacy is one of power, fear, and devastation. Their name alone casts a shadow over South Los Angeles, a shadow from which few can escape. Now, y'all make sure y'all hit the red bell and subscribe button right under this video so y'all know when this real trill spill shit is dropping. Now, all my people that's in the city and tapped in, y'all get in the comment box below. Y'all let us know, is this still effective? Are the Hoovers still the most hated? Most recently, I seen some chatter online where some people even mentioned the Denver Lane blood set also as one of the most hated sets in the city. And to all my LA lifers, y'all give us some insight. It's said that a lot of the hate for the Hoovers came when they were connected to the death of the founder of the Crips, Raymond Washington. Is that accurate? Y'all make sure y'all let me know what cities we need to go to, what stories we need to tell, what we missed, what we got wrong, all of that. Y'all tapping with me directly on Instagram, Twitter, POP_A_LOT. And until the next play, y'all know how we rocking. Shades Pop a lot. Salute the almighty Mobb.